All right, another episode, the second episode of the second season of the new and improved, better than ever Doctor Who that increasingly nobody watches. Very few people did. I'm one of the idiots who sat through it. Well, let me just go through some of the positives. It wasn't as bad, at least in the sense of, going out of its way to piss you off as the first episode did. The companion, she's got a snottiness to her, but it's much more subdued and a bit more credible in that, she doesn't know everything or doesn't assume the Doctor's useless or takes charge or this sort of thing. Doesn't really happen this time around. Of course, she's irritated. She wants to get home, and there's some mysterious reason as to why they can't. And she's like, oh, well, and that sort of thing. And in the past, there's quite a few companions who, in fact, at some point, all of them would get irritated with the Doctor and that sort of thing. But that's not why that was happening in the first episode. It was clear and just constant scenes to kick you out of the show and all of that. So this one, they go back in time because the Doctor's trying to figure out a way to get her back to her period. He's got this technological plan as to how this will work. I guess you'll have to tune in next week to see if that worked out. But anyway, it gets them to Florida in the 50s where, for bizarre reasons, this cartoon character comes to life seemingly right out of the screen of a movie theater and causes people to disappear and all this sort of thing. So it's the 50s. So yes, acknowledgments and references to segregation and what have you is there, but it's not at the forefront. And it's interesting to note that there is a scene you expect. Oh, here we go. Okay. Where the Doctor and Belinda are seemingly about to be arrested. And the Doctor, stops the scene. It's like, it says, oh, this is all fake. Now, I'm jumping ahead here, but it was interesting. I thought, I didn't, because I thought they were going to go forward and exploit the whole era and whatnot. They make mention of it again, like I said. They went to a diner and this sort of thing. But the Doctor's interested in the mystery of what's happened here and wants to help out the people that were lost. There's this woman, her son went missing, and he feels sorry for her and all that. So he wants to see what the hell's going on and that sort of thing. And they encounter the cartoon entity, which, surprise, surprise, is another one of these gods from whatever dimension that the toy maker came from, the Maestro character. And, of course, they just threw in Sutek for memberberry purposes, even though in the original story, that's not what was stipulated. But, hey, let's retcon all that. So, anyway, here's another one of these entities, but is hindered by, it's never really explained. But anyway, I'll get to that. So, but the point of it is, he didn't kill the people that were in the theater. He trapped them within the frames of film. So then what does he do? He traps the Doctor and Belinda in film strips. And, oh, no, they got to get out. Well, right off the bat, they do the Doctor and Belinda as cartoons. And then through emotions, extreme emotions, especially sadness, because I guess, cartoons are silly. So if you start getting sad, it breaks it or what have you. And so both Belinda and the Doctor recall sad things, and they become more real. And then but they're still stuck in the cartoon world. So then the Doctor just reaches up and starts pulling the frame. It's stupid. It's also very, very stupid. Because they've just given up on anything. The only scientific thing was the signal device that the Doctor said, hey, I could use this as a means by which to get back to your time period or whatever, something which granted, is gobbledygook stuff, but you've abandoned all pretenses with these gods, you know. I mean, the idea of superior aliens, of superior technology and this stuff, and they abuse these abilities against people who don't understand it, are so far beyond their comprehension, they'll come across as gods. Yes, that's well understood, but you never really get there with these guys. Of course, Star Trek has done this quite a bit, of course, ultimately culminating in Q and that sort of thing. But still, always those were, you know, limited somewhat to the idea that, yes, these were entities from another dimension and are alien beings of a superior technological ability. And that sort of thing. Whereas here, I don't know, they're just gods. So the other strange thing is, especially with all the absurdity of it all, they seemingly break the fourth wall, where suddenly, as they're trying to get out of their film strip prison, that the entity, I forget it, Lux, that's the title of the god of light, as it were. Yes, they break the fourth wall, seemingly coming into the living room of Doctor Who fans. And there's these three people who are in there dressed up in sort of Doctor Who outfits. This guy has the scarf and all that type of stuff. And so the Doctor and Melinda sit down and they explain that they've watched his adventures and all this stuff. And they make a joke about Blink being the most favorite episode, blah, 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 all this sort of stuff, only to discover, oh, geez, they're not real. These are more figments of the imagination of Lux used against the Doctor. So that was the second one where it's kind of like, oh, you're going to mock the fans and whatnot, but then it isn't. And also talking about, you know, what was the best episode and stuff. It's none of the recent ones. and all this sort of thing. But the moment where Belinda and Doctor are almost arrested because they think they've gotten back to reality, they're back in the movie theater and it looks like it and everything. But then the woman that he was trying to help wants them arrested. The policeman says, you people of color, you don't belong in this theater. And the Doctor doesn't believe it. He doesn't believe them, that it's too over the top or whatnot. Which, yeah, it is. I mean, they're in the era that it happened and everything, but it was, you know, I forget the actual dialogue, but he doesn't fall for it and realizes this is all fake. We're still stuck in the film strips and whatnot. So, I don't know. I mean, it was surprising. I just thought, oh, you're just going to exploit this again. And really didn't. So, okay. But other than that, you know, the aspects of it just being magic and ultimately, oh, what's the deal? The Lux says, what don't I do or what don't, you know, something like that. That's the secret. He never leaves the building. One would have thought he was trapped there, but he's not. He needs something and, oh, the Doctor. And then suddenly he recognizes who the Doctor is heard about him from the others. And all that's revealing that he's one of the gods, like, you know, toy maker and all that. And decides to steal regeneration energy from the Doctor so that he can grow a body and exist in the real world, which, what kind of a god is this? So he's doing it. And then, you know, Belinda has to... and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense that she goes and gets the caretaker of the theater. He has to give up the Lux had given him a chance to be with his wife again, who had died. And so he was sort of helping him out, I guess. That doesn't really do a whole lot except maintaining the theater for him. That's locked off because the public doesn't understand what happened there. And so he ends up destroying all the movies that he had in the storage. And all of that, and then they smash open a window and a wall so the light hits him he's the god of light, so the doctor, give him all the light. So it's daytime and the sunlight hits him and he grows giant and then goes out into space to become one with the stars, I guess. I don't know. It did. He was becoming solid, but then he goes, I guess the sunlight lured him away. I don't know. It just sort of fizzles, in my opinion, of that. And then the doctor's, well, let's go, So it restores everybody. They all come back. The families are reunited and whatnot. And Belinda and the doctor hop in the TARDIS and leave. Yeah. It had a lot of stupid in it, but it just wasn't as insulting. Certainly not as much as previous episodes, or certainly not as the first one, but it just wasn't really that great. And just way too much. It's magic, maybe you should just change his name to the Wizard, and do that. And I don't know if there's really any intention to go with this because it's so scattered and stupid. There's so many options beyond just worrying about whatever messages they want to preach. Because are they just going to ultimately reveal that the Doctor is actually one of these gods? Because that's the thing. Russell T Davies, when he came in, he talked about the Doctor as a lone god or something like that, which I never liked. And it's too much of that to where there's really no stakes. It's just the Doctor's playing around because there's really nothing he has to worry about. He's going to live forever anyway. But that he became Dr. God, not Doctor Who, that kind of thing. And if it does that, well, then I suppose they could just sort of tease it and hint it that he's actually one of them, one of these. Which, wouldn't they know that? I don't know. It doesn't really matter because it's so badly damaged and scatterbrained and ruined that there's nothing really to hold on to as to what this is anymore. So, but as far as this episode goes, the cartoon came to life, and just because another one of these pan-dimensional gods wanted to come to our universe and did so because Moonlight managed to come in during the movie, something, I don't know. It's all rather stupid. I mean, had they done it where, there was, because of the Doctor trying to find a way to get Belinda back home, and for whatever that's about, why they can't, there's some barrier from that point in time that he can't get there, and I suppose maybe they'll go back to explain the fracture in time that caused her first adventure with the robots and everything, and maybe they will do that. So you could have thrown that in there that, this left open, I suppose you're supposed to fill in the blank script and figure it out yourself, I guess, even though there's really no on-screen indication of it. I'm just guessing that, something about that created the events to where something like this Lux entity could cross over. Which the other entities didn't seem to have much problem doing that. You ultimately just got to go back to something that the toy collector, or toy maker rather, did. But, and that you have to then guess that, he's the reason Tennant's Doctor came back and all that stuff. It's just too stupid. Yeah. Anyway, nobody watched it because it's dead. And I don't even know why they even bother. I guess they just, out of save face, they have to just say, we'll see the results of the second season before any decision is made to go forward. You already knew what the second season would be. You did them back to back. So it's not like you learned a lesson to the reaction of the first one to say, okay, let's drop this and add more of this stuff that seemed to be positive or what have you. No, they didn't have time for that because they'd already done it. So, And anyway, that's all I can really say is it wasn't as bad as the first one because it just wasn't as annoying. In a lot of ways, it's still more stupid than the first one. The first one, well, you had time travel and robots and that sort of thing. Here, it's just magic. Yeah. Oh, well. There you go. You're all caught up for a show you're never going to watch, I'm sure. I won't be rewatching it. One's enough.